Okay, moving on to the final segment of today's show, I wanted to talk a little bit of NBA. And you guys remember earlier, I discussed Kyrie Irving and his comments regarding the Orlando trip, all that. But I actually wanted to end this show talking about actual basketball. And if this Orlando plan does end up happening, which it looks like odds are it will, if we have anything otherwise, we'll start talking about that. But I think this year in the NBA playoffs in Orlando, when it actually does happen, if in any year there's going to be some controversy, in any year if we could see upsets, it's going to be this one. Because this NBA playoffs that we're about to see, starting, which right now is supposed to start on July 30th, July 31st, whatever, in that range, we have never seen any kind of playoffs like this. And for me, what that means is expect the unexpected. I feel like usually when it comes to the NBA playoffs, we know going in about the two or three teams that have a legitimate shot to win the NBA title. Usually during Christmas as well. Like, it doesn't take us until, February or March to realize, okay, what teams have a legitimate shot to win the finals, right? We knew on Christmas this past year that the Lakers were really good and had a shot to win an NBA title. Same thing with the Clippers. On Christmas this year, we knew they were really good and had a shot to win the title. Same with the Bucks, maybe a couple other teams that you had as sleepers, but those three teams were really the main three teams. And I think this year, when you consider all the circumstances, when you ask most people who do they think are going to win the NBA finals, right? Odds are a lot of them are going to take the Lakers because of LeBron. And that's not a bad choice. LeBron is obviously the man. He's the best player in the league right now, I believe. Some people are going to take the Clippers. Some people are going to take the Bucks. But the main point I'm going to be trying to make here with this segment, and you could tell me if you agree, you could tell me if you disagree, you guys know where to reach me, is that this year anything is possible. There are so many things going on in this NBA playoffs and that have gone on so far during this NBA season that just aren't normal. When you look at it, usually we all know how the NBA season works. The season starts in November. You play 82 games in the regular season. Sometimes does it absolutely feel like the regular season is dragging by and it takes forever? And do we know the playoffs are absolutely the most important games during the NBA season? No doubt. But at the same time, there's just been so many weird and different things that have gone on so far this season as opposed to others. And I think that's why we should really be going into these playoffs expecting some unexpected things to happen. As I said earlier, I think LeBron is going to succeed during these playoffs. But is it a guarantee? Absolutely not. I think Kawhi is born to, he's the kind of guy that lives for the big moments. Can he succeed during the playoffs? Absolutely. But we don't know if Giannis is going to be able to do that. We don't know if Jason Tatum is going to be able to do that. We don't know if Pascal Siakam is going to be able to do that. And I do think also, going back to my first point, right? Usually going into the NBA playoffs, we have an idea of the 1, 2, or 3 teams that have a legitimate shot to win the NBA finals. But this year, I think we have to go into the playoffs with a little bit of a different attitude. If any year the Houston Rockets and James Harden were going to win a title, it would be this one. How many basketball analysts over the last couple years have gone on, a radio show or a podcast, whatever, and said there's absolutely no shot James Harden will ever win an NBA title in his career? Well, now is his best shot than ever, just because this year he's not going to have to go into the Staples Center and have to win a big Game 6 on the road, or go into Denver and have to win a big Game 7 on the road. You guys know what I mean? There's literally no home court advantage. So I think some of the middle tier teams that are below teams like the Lakers and the Bucks, they're going to have to really prove them to themselves that, and they have to tell themselves, if we want to win any year, it might as well be this year, because this could be the best shot we have. Players are out also in different shape. Like, the fact is, they took a 4-month gap, and understandably so due to the pandemic, but you just have no idea how that's going to affect certain players. What happens if all of a sudden Jimmy Butler of the Miami Heat, who's a good player, he's a star, but he's not really a guy that most people will expect to lead his team to a championship by himself, right? What happens if a guy like Jimmy Butler has just been grinding throughout this whole quarantine period and comes back looking like one of the best players in the NBA and leads the Miami Heat to a couple playoff wins and maybe a couple upsets? I wouldn't be shocked if that happened, just because It's a 4-month off period, and you're playing in an AAU style tournament. To be honest with you, that's kind of how I'm looking at this whole thing. Literally the best basketball tournament in the world, all at the same location between all of the best basketball players in the world. And I believe it was the Memphis Grizzlies GM that came out and said this the other day, that he believes the NBA playoff system is fair. And to be honest, I kind of agree. Now, does that mean if I were the NBA, I would have done whatever I could to get Zion Williamson and the Pelicans into this bubble? I mean, maybe not. They're a couple games back of the 8 seed right now, but at least everyone else has a shot. The Phoenix Suns, if the regular season was going, really were not making the playoffs. Same with the San Antonio Spurs, same with the Sacramento Kings. But now, all of a sudden, let's just say, once again, during this quarantine, they kind of changed their attitude. They wanted to get better. They maybe a random player on the Sacramento Kings, like Harrison Barnes, who's refusing to shave his beard until he knows if the Sacramento Kings made the playoffs or not, right? What happens if a guy like that is just like, all right, like, I'm just going to go on a run and lead the Sacramento Kings to the playoffs? Every team has a fair shot. And it's going to be interesting to see if, once again, the teams like Boston or Philly, how they react. A team that I wanted to talk about specifically is actually the Philadelphia 76ers. They were a very interesting team and a team that I tracked, even going all the way back to the offseason. And what I mean by that is this. Going into the season, a lot of people did predict the Philadelphia 76ers to be the team that eventually would come out of the Eastern Conference and represent the East in the NBA Finals. People loved their size, but I was never on the bandwagon. I was always a Buck guy. I was always a Celtic guy. I always tended to favor those two teams over Philadelphia just because of I didn't love Philadelphia's style of play. The fact that they were going to be playing Ben Simmons, Al Horford, and Joel Embiid all at the floor at the same time, and they don't have JJ Redick and Jimmy Butler anymore, two guys that could consistently knock down three-point shots. Plus, you combine the coaching into the equation as well. I was never really that high on the Philadelphia 76ers. But in the regular season, Philadelphia was an interesting team because they literally could not lose at home, and they could not win on the road. And now they're going to a neutral tournament where literally no team in the whole field has any kind of home court advantage. We see during March Madness when the NCAA selection committee kind of puts it in parentheses like, yeah, it's a quote-unquote neutral court. And I get it. There's nothing else they could really do. They want to reward the higher seeds for the season they had. So they'll give them like a quote-unquote neutral game in that NCAA tournament. But at the same time, that's not going to be the case here in the NBA. Literally, all these teams and all these players are going to be traveling to the same spot in Disney, and they're just going to play it out and see who wants it more. And that's kind of why when the question arises, do you consider whichever team wins this championship? Like, are you going to put an asterisk at the end? To be honest, no, because you just have to consider circumstances. The one thing I will give Adam Silver credit for is the way he's handled this, and if this plan goes through. I think he did the best he could to give every team a chance to at least play themselves into the tournament. We all knew teams like the Knicks, teams like the Bulls, teams like the Warriors, teams like the Timberwolves, teams like that. We all knew that those kind of teams didn't deserve to even get a shot. But everyone else that got invited at least deserves some of it. And we're going to see if a team like Dallas with Luka and Porzingis could all of a sudden go on a big-time run. We could see a team like the Jazz. It's going to be interesting to see how they look with Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell after everything that has gone down with the coronavirus. The Oklahoma City Thunder were one of the more surprising teams in the NBA, and I absolutely love the chemistry they played with. And Chris Paul and Danilo Gallinari and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, those guys, they deserve a bunch of credit for the season they had. Maybe they could go on a run. The Denver Nuggets, I'm sure all you guys saw the picture of Nikola Jokic that kind of went viral the other day. He looks like he's going to be in the best shape of his life. Maybe the Denver Nuggets can make a run. I already mentioned the Miami Heat. So you have all these teams that if I were going into this tournament, you have to look at it like this. We're playing with house money. Obviously, like if you're LeBron, you can't really look at it that way. But if you're a team like the Indiana Pacers, we just have to say to yourself, all right, we're playing in a high school AAU style gym, no fans, everyone's on a 4-month break. Anything could happen. And to be honest, like as a fan, that's kind of how I'm looking at this whole tournament. Like, yeah, really anything could happen. And to be honest, as an NBA fan, that's why I'm so excited. I'm not saying it would happen, but if the Pelicans face the Lakers in round 1, maybe the Pelicans can win. The Pelicans have talent. They have Zion. They have Brandon Ingram. They have Lonzo Ball, a couple guys that the LA Lakers as a franchise are really, really familiar with. So you look at a team like the Lakers, could they, a team like the Pelicans, could they maybe, if they sneak in the playoffs, go on a run? We'll see. Portland has Damian Lillard, a guy that could take over games at any time. The Grizzlies, right now, they're currently sitting at the 8th seed. They have a kid in John Morant that is special. So basically the point I'm making is any team, especially in the Western Conference, has talent and could go on a run. And for me, in this kind of tournament, in this kind of style, and considering the circumstances we are in right now, I'm really excited for this tournament because usually in the NBA, going into the playoffs, we know about the 1, 2, or 3 teams that have a legit shot to win the NBA Finals. And this year, I think there are more. I think the Bucks have a shot. I think the Lakers have a shot. I think the Clippers have a shot. Those are the 3 obvious ones. But when you also look at it, Toronto, they won the chip last year, and I understand they don't have Kawhi Leonard anymore, but they were awesome down the stretch, and they have great chemistry. Philadelphia has the talent. Boston, I think, has the talent. The Rockets, if any year was going to be their year, it would be this one. The Nuggets, even the Mavericks have the top-end talent. The Jazz, the Thunder, the Blazers, all these teams have players that could take over games. And when you're playing, I understand it's best of 7, I get it. But when you're playing in a Disney gym after 4 months off and you don't really know what kind of shape everyone else is in, you don't really know what your teammates have been doing since this coronavirus started, I think if we do have an NBA playoffs and it's looking like we are, we have to go into it expecting the unexpected and kind of realizing if any year a team was going to go on a storybook kind of run, it would be this year. And that's why I'm really looking forward to this whole tournament.